Joining me today to help me unpack the interconnectedness of physical and mental health on all aspects of our performance is a repeat guest from one of my earliest episodes of Unbiased. It's a dear friend and personal trainer extraordinaire, Natalie Pilides. Natalie is the co-founder of More Than Muscle, a award-winning personal training company based in the southeast of England. But she has clients all over the world who she trains in person and online, alongside her co-founder and husband, Andy, and a growing team of personal trainers. Now, Natalie's mission is to get a barbell in the hands of every woman. And it's her goal to make strength and fitness as accessible and enjoyable for as many as possible. And she focuses predominantly today on women in their 40s and 50s to help them feel as strong and as fit as they've ever felt before. Nat is called upon to deliver workshops across the country and called on regularly by corporate organizations to support staff health and wellness programs. Natalie, welcome back to Unbiased.
Thank you. It's so good to be back.
So, Nat, I've now known you for some 12 plus years, I think, when you were starting out as a personal trainer in corporate gyms, and I've seen your career take off into your own business, your own lifestyle brand and social media presence, and that really kind of hones your mission and threads it through everything you do. I myself have been training in gyms, and health and fitness has been quite a big part of my life for about the last 25 years. So I started training when, it was the turn of the millennium. It was weight loss that was driving me there. I was very overweight as a teenager, and it was cardio. It was low fat diets. It was being thin was absolutely in. Didn't want to have too much muscle. You mustn't do weights as a woman. And I know we've spoken before on myth busting in that regard, but out of all areas, that fitness space is somewhere where I feel like we've seen such an evolution, be it from actual investment in science and research that has debunked a lot of the myths that abounded when I started out training, and probably when you were early on in your career, but also through societal expectations and through the rise of social media, where it can be the forefront, whether or not that is from a professional elite athlete, a scientist, a fitness industry expert such as yourself, or a model, influencer, lifestyle brand guru. So, Nat, can you take us through that evolution and how it's kind of manifested itself through your career and led you to your mission now?
Yeah, so I think at the start, it was very much about how things look. And I do think it is now still. I think there'll always be that element there. I think it's just part of who we are as humans. But also to back that up now, there is that voice behind it, and there's like a real person there. Whereas, I don't know, back like 10 years ago, there wasn't that voice behind pictures or videos. It was just like, this is the ad and this is what they look like. A, B, that's how you get there. And then that's where like the ad came in. Whereas now there is a real like voice and also a journey as well, with like a realistic journey with how people get from A to B, which I am all for. Like, I'm all for the journey. I think people always aim for like the end result, but the journey, like, that's the bit that I think people see more of now, which is really, really nice. I do think there's more of an emphasis on lifestyle, which is great. It makes things more realistic. I remember when my friend, we must have been in school, and she said, I want to become a personal trainer when I'm older. And I thought, I said, why do you want to become a personal trainer? She said, because I want to train celebrities. And I was thinking, what? Yeah, obviously, only personal trainers and Fitness and things like that are for celebrities. And that's what was always like, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, that's what it was kind of deemed as. Whereas now, the clients that I will have and like the workshops that I do, that it's all like all walks of life can come into a workshop or to do personal training, which is so nice. Like that's such a cool transformation to have within the industry.
Yeah, that accessibility, and like you say, everyone. And now there's like, even when I started out, there just weren't even that many gyms. Like I started out in a leisure center gym, and now, you know, there's a fitness first, anytime fitness. There's gyms on every street corner. Then I moved to Australia where it was just so part and parcel of everything. But I feel that, yeah, it is just much more, it's a much more central part of like people's daily lives in order to maintain themselves. And you're right, I think that the looks piece and the visuals and the feeling is so much there. But I noticed that, you know, you talk about your mission and the people that you work with to help to support women feel the strongest and fittest they've ever felt. Just like different to, you know, being, you know, the strongest and fittest. Was that deliberate?
Yeah, I do think it is a feeling. Yeah, you can be stronger and you can be fitter, but also there are like elements within your life that can interfere with that.
Yeah.
Let's say somebody will always, if they used to go to the gym regularly when they were in their 20s and they didn't have much work on, they had a great social life, they slept for 10 hours a night, they may feel like they may have lifted more, or they may have felt stronger then, or they may have been stronger then. And I think for women in their like 40s and 50s, they always like seem to refer back to that. Oh, I want to be how I was in my 20s, or I want to be this dress size because I was in my 20s. Like that stuff, that's what interferes with your journey moving forward, to feel like you always need to be back there. Whereas if you like feel your strongest and you feel your fittest and you feel your best for your current lifestyle and how you are now, I think that's the most positive thing that you can take out of this, because our lives are always changing and developing. So are our careers, so is our like lifestyle, what we like, what we dislike. And I think we also have to move with that as well. We can't expect to be as we were in our 20s moving forward.
Yeah. What's your secret to moving women on that dial? Because I'm officially in the category of being in my 40s, and I absolutely fall into that trap of going, but in my 20s, I would work all these hours. I'm still in the gym at 6 a.m. every morning. It was, I could do a double spin class and then some weights, still get to the office. Now, not only am I not quite able to do quite the same thing physically, but I now have like 2 kids and a lot more going on in my life and a lot less time to juggle it. And whilst maybe it's tied into this feeling piece as well somewhere, but whilst we know all so much intellectually, of course I'm not in my 20s anymore. Of course there's a lot of things that are different. There's a lot of things that I don't want to go back to in my 20s, and yet we have this natural tendency to pick all the best bits, to beat ourselves up about why we're not doing all the same things and adding to it in that way. And I think that mindset piece is just so important, because especially in that space of health and wellness as well, where there is so much that so many of us know to be true intellectually, or we know we should move more, and we know we should carve out more time for rest, etc. And yet we can just not be great at following through on that. What are both some of the challenges that you face, or is that something that you see a lot of in your clients? And what are your tips, and how do you navigate that to help clients focus on the journey over this outcome, and to be really realistic and really radically honest with themselves about it?
Yeah, it is. It is really common for people to have that association, but also how to also achieve their goals and to move forward. I think the top one is support. Always make sure that you have support to go to. Now, I don't mean that you're following a PDF guide that you've downloaded online. I do mean like having a coach, even if it's somebody that you have for 3 months, and that kind of sets you on your way with things, because that's the hardest bit, is that first bit and building those habits. So support from a professional, but then I also think support from like friends and family as well. If everyone in the house, if no one in the house exercise, if nobody in the house enjoys going out for walks, if nobody eats vegetables, like that's the stuff that kind of over time starts to impact what you're doing. So I would get as many people like on board with your journey as possible. The other thing is taking small steps. So if we have a goal in our head, or if we have an idea that we want to improve our lifestyle or start going to the gym more or getting stronger or leaner, we have like the goal in mind, but then all of the stuff in between, we don't really consider and we don't really break down. So if you can look at habits as like habit stacking and just building on those and starting to do things at a really like minute level. I don't know, it's like going out for half an hour walk. Yeah. We know 10,000 steps is the one that
Yeah.
we've all hit, but half an hour is also better than none.
Yeah.
So if we start going out on half an hour walks, okay, then that builds up to 40 and then 50. And then in a few months' time, you're out for an hour. And it's that, like, that's how we stack things. Same with gym sessions. Instead of committing to 5 times a week, start with 2. And then, okay, you've done 2 for a few weeks. Can we then build it up to 3? Like that's the stuff that I'm really keen on doing, because although it doesn't get you the results in 8 weeks, so you're not going to go from A to B in 8 weeks,
Yeah.
you will go to A to B in, let's say, 4 months, and then be able to sustain it way, way, way longer. Yeah, that's what I'm all about, is like building those habits to make things feel nice to achieve, and it doesn't feel like a chore and you end up hating it and having bad associations with health and fitness.
Yeah. A lot of that resonates with me. I suppose it's like that kind of almost like the tenets of
Yeah,
coaching for in other areas as well. Like,
yeah,
like micro goals, feel like
yeah,
actually feel that success step by step on that
yeah,
journey, and then you're encouraged to and motivated to keep going. And there's a lot for me in that, in terms of really finding that intrinsic motivation. Because again, we can
yeah,
come in, we'll start, it's like new year, new you, everyone, everyone's in it. I remember as a hardcore gym goer back in the day, and like in January, I'd kind of get really arsy because suddenly like all the bikes are gone, all the classes are booked out because everyone's in, and you're like, oh yeah, give it 6 weeks, and it'll all clear back out again. And so I think it's so wrapped up in that. And the other thing that comes to mind is, and I mean, anyone that knows me sort of knows I'm so almost obsessed with just the interconnectedness of everything. And now that, in a way, because we're seeing the people's journeys, and these lifestyle brands become a thing, and we start to see all aspects of someone's life, and something that resonates both on the fitness coaching piece, but also, other, whether it's entrepreneurs or business people who are also going to this same, like, meet your goals, and by focusing in your physical fitness, and once your physical fitness is good, then you'll perform better in other aspects of your life. To date, I think it's quite easy for people to compartmentalize their lives and worlds into work and family and relationships and fitness and self-care, and each gets only a small sliver of the pie, when actually more time in one area can enhance so many other areas of your life. So I'm interested to know, from your perspective, have you seen like those attitudes and mindsets of your clients shift over time? And does that even have something to do with why fitness coaching is actually becoming more mainstream?
Yeah. So over time, so some of my clients I've had now, just for context, 4 or 5 years, and some I have taken on new. So definitely the ones that I've had for the last 4 or 5 years, yes, I can definitely see that happening. And that's why I do think coaching works really well. It kind of brings people back to the line. But also as a coach, you have to allow life to happen as well alongside that. So there may be times where career is really taking off. There may be times where they need to travel more. There may be times when they're growing a family. And but within all elements of that, your health and your fitness and your well-being will always remain an
Yeah.
importance, and it should stay the same. Sometimes like you say, it has like a hierarchy and they do focus more during that time. But I think there's always like a low level, like you'll always have that in your life. They'll always exercise, they'll always try and look after their nutrition, whether they're traveling, whether they're at home. And I think having a coach and having a coach that is adaptable with your lifestyle helps massively. You don't just want to have a coach when you feel on it, when you feel like, right, this is it. Like this is the time to go for it. You want a coach when actually you're wavering off your goals and you feel like you're coming away from it a bit. And I think that's the time when people always seem to like throw in the towel. Oh yeah, I'll
Yeah.
cancel. I don't have time really for that. Whereas actually, this is the time that you really need it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's I definitely see that with my clients, like wavering and changing through lifestyles and things. But I think that's just the importance of having that guidance.
Yeah. I can see the value of having that support as well. It's just not gonna put you down for that. That's not gonna try and convince you that you need to be on all the time, but that actually understands that if you want this to be a sustainable journey, then that necessarily means that there's gonna be lulls and ups and downs. You're not going to be able to be on all of the time, 3 days a week, 5 days a week, whatever it is. And what about, you talk about your goal is to make fitness accessible and enjoyable as possible. Now, if anyone who follows you on socials knows that your passion for joy, as well as the joy that shows up in your life, whether it's with friends, whether it's through food, and through your fitness and through your training goals, comes across so much. And I've always got that sense that it's a big differentiator for you and for More Than Muscle over just the lose X amount of belly fat in 12 weeks. It goes to that thread of sustainability that you've spoken about. How important is having fun and enjoyment, both psychologically and physiologically, for our health in order to actually make the most out of going on this journey?
Yeah, so I think at first, whatever kind of area you pick to enjoy health and fitness, then you should move into that. I'm a big advocate for people going to the gym, but I mean it's not the be all and end all of fitness. So if people enjoy swimming, if they enjoy dancing, if they enjoy hiking, they should really lean into that side of things. And I do think it just enlightens and brings joy to all parts of that area of your life. And I don't think it's something that you really think about when you are I didn't really think about it when I was in my teens or in my 20s. Like you don't really think about how exercise really impacts your life. You just think about how exercise can impact how you look.
Yeah.
Whereas now, moving forward and also speaking with my clients, exercise really does impact all areas of your life, like how you feel and also how you perform as well. So it might not just be like the actual physical side and how you look or how strong you are. It's like mentally as well. Like you're going into a day, you've worked out in the morning and you feel great, like you feel energized. And that just has like a domino effect throughout your day and then also throughout your week and how you interact with other people as well. I just think it's such an important aspect of people's lives that we tend to neglect because it just is there. It does what it does. Whereas when it comes to like physically looking at how exercise impacts you, you're like, oh yeah, I can see how they've changed from A to B. Look how much different they look. But actually, like how you feel as a person doing it, it's like that outweighs the rest.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can see how, and again, I see it through social media, how people that have felt that impact and felt that impact across multiple areas of their lives can become quite evangelical about it. And I think that, and it might be just my coming up on my feed or whatever the algorithm is throwing me, but there's often a lot of really successful, entrepreneurs and business people and leaders who will go back to this foundation of, I start every day with some form of movement and exercise, and how integral that is, and how you show up in the gym, and oftentimes even on in yoga mat, it's in yoga classes, it's such a thing. What happens on the mat will like show itself off the mat, and I guess that kind of goes a bit to this interconnectedness piece where you go, this is not just about losing some weight, looking great. Actually, the ripple effect of that is so much bigger than that.
And I think I'd be lying to say that I enjoy every gym session I do and that my clients will enjoy and will love to come to every personal training or session that they do by themselves. Like I it's not always enjoyable, but sometimes it's just like necessary. Like you need to go and you get it done, and that's just part of life. Like people, they go to work and not every day is enjoyable. Sometimes it's just, especially when you're running your own business as well, it is a bit like, oh my gosh, why do I do this? And I think that's similar to your health and fitness journey as well. It's the times where it's not really that enjoyable, but you should go. And that, I think that's really important to know, because I think that's where a lot of people also will give up and throw in the towel because they don't enjoy every minute of the gym. Like I don't enjoy every minute of the gym, and I'm meant to be an advocate for it. But like you just need to, it's a process in which you take, and I enjoy the outcome that it has. And yeah, I do enjoy some days at the gym, and I think that's the balance that you kind of should go in with.
Yeah. Sometimes it's so tied up in our own identity, right? So who do you say you are? For someone that's been a workaholic all their lives and says, I work 16 hours a day and I don't have time for exercise, and you can get so entrenched in a particular identity, and particularly in terms of your demographic of women in their 40s and 50s, they may have lived a certain way and it's worked for them in many ways, but they also know that something has to change. It's more than, again, it's just more than picking up a weight or doing that piece of exercise. It's saying, actually, I can be someone that is strong. I can be someone that shows up even when I don't want to, because that is who I am and that is who I want to be. And shifting those identities, particularly as we get older, is a really, can sometimes be an uphill battle, but it's also something we're so mindful is absolutely necessary in order for us to get a bit more of that joy into our lives and to perform. What is the rationale for you behind the getting the barbell and the weights and that strength piece for women? Like, where is that all coming from for you now? And what is that importance and the message that you believe all women should have when it comes to their strength and how they feel and who they are and how they succeed?
I think having the barbell in every woman's hand, it's just when people coming into the gym, there's always like there's two sides. So there's like the cardio lot, and then there is the weight section. And now actually there's a lot of it's starting to come over here actually, but in the US there's lots of like women's lifting gyms or like women's sections within gyms. And then also over here now we're starting to see it as well. So there's definitely like more encouragement for that to happen. But I think if you've paid for a gym membership, I think just to go in and do some stretches and to use the cardio machine, and that's all you ever do, I think it's just a waste of what can actually be done within the gym and what you're going there for. And not everyone enjoys the gym, but when you're there, you may as well make it count. And strength training, especially for women in their 40s and 50s, is pivotal to making your bones strong, your muscles strong as you grow and age. So it's such an important part of it. But I think people are just worried to like step into that section. It's far more easier to just go onto a treadmill, press start and go for it. Like it's very familiar. Whereas weights, there's more to do. And that's also the beauty of it as well. There's so much you can do. And the challenge almost as well, it's like when you've overcome that challenge or when you've overcome that weight, you'll know this, Darcy, as well. Like when you've lifted a weight and that feeling, you're like, yes, like that just feels so good because you've worked up to it. Yeah. You won't get that on a bike. I'm sorry, you won't get that on a static bike.
Yeah.
So I know it's the harder thing to do, but that almost is like the nicety of it. Like it is just once you get in that achievement of like building up your weights, your body changes. You may lift a chair or like lift something and be like, oh, I can do that. Or you'll go on a hike and you'll be like, oh, my legs feel so good doing this. It's like those things that strength training does that just focusing on cardio won't. So yeah, that's why I'm so, and I love coaching it. I love teaching it. It's my favorite thing.
I love to hear that. As I said, anyone that is just can inject that passion into what they're doing is all, like, as a coach, I'm like, I'm there. Show me the barbell now. I'm in. And even if I think from my experience, and I've come in and out of it, I agree with you. I love that feeling. And I've been doing weights for like years and years, and I still don't actually have that much sort of real muscle mass. Like I'm not, I'm certainly not in that, people back in the day, they're like, oh, you mustn't do weights because then you're going to like bulk out. And I am absolute proof of that is not true. But even when you're having phases where you are focusing on cardio or doing lots of long distance running, the difference of a training program that has weights as part of it is a really integral part of that. And then to feel like your run is so much easier. Now I'm just quite recently back on that weights journey again, alongside training for a long run. And it's been absolutely mind blowing that something that like you said, it just feels easier. And suddenly you're like, oh, wow, I've been running faster. And I was like, it's probably because I've been doing squats and my glutes are getting that much stronger. So I'm getting more propulsion in your run. And so I think weights gives you this sense of, as a layperson, as someone that just that trains, to support health and fitness, there's something about developing that strength and seeing its impact in other areas of life that actually is quite empowering in and of itself, because you do have that confidence when you go into the gym and you're like, oh yeah, I can head straight for this. I can have a routine in a bunch of weights that might used to look intimidating before someone broke it down for you. And it's kind of this nice bit of almost choreography that you're like, I've got this routine, and it's there's an outcome at the other end rather than just going, okay, I put the treadmill on. Yes, of course you've run and that's great. But there's just something like that, just with and it ends there until the next time you go. Whereas when the weights piece is like this ongoing thing where you're like, in years to come now, I'm going to be able to lift more. And as you say, there's also a lot more research and advocacy into menopause and all of that sort of thing. And so I think I'm I'm sure we will see more prominence given to that piece and the strength and the weights for longevity. And I feel like now I train, in my 20s I was training to lose weight and stay in shape, whereas now I'm training so that I can keep exercising into my 60s and 70s. It's just such a different mindset. Hey.
Yeah, and like from a, like you were saying, from a performance perspective as well, if you do have another sport that you do out that is your main form of exercise, strength training 1 to 2 times a week to help support that sport is the best thing that you can do for your muscles, for your flexibility, for your stamina. Like it works so well. So yeah, I would always think as strength training to like support areas that you are doing.
It's just the gift that keeps on giving, that. So look, I can, as is often the case with my guests, I can talk about these things till the cows come home. And I've really loved how just not only learning more about this area and seeing your passion for it, but as I said, really understanding how connected it is with so many other parts of our lives. This, as you know, this podcast is called Unbiased, and we're looking to explore all those areas of our lives that we can enhance and how they're affected by biases that either exist outside or within us and ourselves. And I think that this is an area that continues to grow and has meaning for so many different reasons. And part of this journey for me as well is to introduce new angles on topics and areas and move us from judgment to curiosity. So, Nat, I'm asking guests to leave us with, it could be a question that remains unanswered, however many experts there are weighing in on the field, or what is a question that we should be asking ourselves more, or that more of us should be asking ourselves?
So I went with, I love this little bit as well. Like it's really cool. I was really like delving into it and thinking, oh, what? So I was thinking, how can you find a balance between self-acceptance, but also self-improvement?
Can you find a balance between self-acceptance and self-improvement?
Yeah, how can you strive for growth, but also be like okay with where you currently are at?
I love that question so much, because just hearing it makes me think that it's at the core of so much of that journey that we want to, but we probably never actually fully say. And I think self-acceptance is a whole theme unto itself. That's a wonderful question to leave us with. How can we find that balance between self-acceptance and growth? Thank you, Nat, so much for taking time out today to chat to us.
No worries. It was lovely to be back.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. I derive so much energy from speaking to such inspiring guests and having really meaningful and challenging conversations. If you felt the same way, my ask of you is to please subscribe to this podcast, either here or wherever you download your podcast content from. Unbiased is a labour of love for me, and the impact that these perspectives have depend on reaching as many eyes and ears as possible. So your support is invaluable. Until next time, stay curious.